Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Anita and this is Nita Crochets. So I have made this foliage top before and I have also tried to make a dress before, and in this tutorial I just want to teach you how to make one of these leaves. Okay, this top is made of different leaf sizes, but if we learn to make just one leaf, it gives you knowledge on how to make the other leaves. Full tutorial for this top is going to be on my channel this week. That's on Wednesday. So let's just learn how to make one of the leaves and then we can see how to make the other leaves. All right, now first of all, the materials we need is a scissors. As you can see, I already have this leaf made, and this is the size, the smallest size of the leaves on that top, and that's what we are going to make in this tutorial. Okay, I'm going to be working with this yarn. It is size 2 yarn. I'm going to be doubling my strands. Then you'll need a yarn needle and stitch markers. Okay, also I'm working with a 3.5mm hook. Okay, now first we are going to make a slip knot, and then for the size of the leaf that I need, I am going to work 21 chains. Okay, now the number of chains that you work, or more like the number of foundation chains that you work, also dictates the size of your leaf. The more the number of foundation chains, the bigger the leaf is going to be, and the more the rows you work, the wider the leaf is going to get. Okay, but the length of the leaf is determined by the number of foundation chains that you work. So for the different sizes of the leaves that we have on the top and the dress that I showed you is dictated by the number of foundation chains for each leaf that you work, and knowing where each leaf is going to go and what coverage you want that leaf to give you. Okay, so once you have your 21 chains worked, we are now going to get into the second chain stitch from the hook, and we work a single crochet. Now we are now going to work one single crochet into every stitch. Okay, all the way until we have one chain stitch left to end the row. So since we started with 21 chain stitches and we worked a single crochet into the second chain stitch from the hook, that leaves us with 20 stitches to work into. So that means we are going to work a total of 19 single crochets, and then I am going to meet you once you have one single crochet left to end the row. That is the 20th one stitch left to end the row. That is the 20th chain stitch. Okay, now once you have one stitch left to end your row, what we are going to do into that very last chain stitch, we are going to work 2 single crochets, okay, in that very same chain stitch, and then we shall chain 1 and then work 2 single crochets once again in that very same chain stitch. Now if you are found of getting confused of your stitches, you can just get a stitch marker and place it into the chain 1 space that you just worked. Okay, now we are going to start working on the opposite side of our foundation chains. So into the very first stitch right there, we are going to work a single crochet, and now we shall work 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way down until we get to the end of our row. So now once you are done with working all the way down, we are now going to chain 1 and turn our work. We are going to skip the very first stitch and get into the next 2 stitches and work 2 single crochets together. Okay, now here we are going to work into the back loops of every stitch. When you do this, it's not the back loop. All right, So I'm going to take this out and make sure I work my next stitches into the back loops of every stitch. But first I'll get my stitch marker and mark my very first stitch, because I'm going to be leaving the last stitch of every row unworked, so I need to mark it. In that way it is easy for me to understand where my first stitch was. Okay, now like I said, we are going to work into the back loops of every stitch so that we get that rib effect like you saw the very first leaf I showed you. Now into every back loop of every stitch we are going to work one single crochet until we get to the chain one space at the peak of our row. Okay, so just work your single crochet into every back loop, and I'm going to meet you once you get to the chain one space. Now once we get to the chain one space, once again we are going to work 2 single crochets all in that very same chain one space, and then we shall chain one and once again work 2 single crochets all in that very same chain one space. So you'll also get your stitch markers and mark that chain one space so it is easier for you to allocate when you get to your next row. Okay, now we are working on the opposite side of our row, of our previous row. So we work 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch. Okay, just like we did on the other side of the row. So even this side we are going to work 1 single crochet into every back loop of every stitch until we have 3 stitches left to end the row. That's why I'm going to meet you guys and then show you what to do next. As you can see, I have 3 stitches left to end my row. Okay, I just want you guys to see closely because I'm working into the back loops of these stitches, so I'm trying to show you the back loops. Now what we are going to do is we are going to work 2 single crochets together into the next 2 stitches. That means we leave 1 stitch unworked. Okay, now here you will chain 1 and turn your work. You are going to skip the very first stitch and then get into the next 2 stitches and work 2 single crochets together. Remember, we are working into the back loops of every stitch, so do not just work your normal single crochets. We are working back loop single crochets into the next 2 stitches. Okay, now here you will need to get a stitch marker and mark your very first stitch so it is easy for you to allocate it when working your next row. Alright, after that you are going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch, into the back loop of every stitch until you get back up at the chain 1 space that you worked previously where you put your stitch marker. So let me let you guys work your single crochets all the way up into the back loops all the way up, and I'm going to meet you there and tell you what to do next. Now that we are there, we are going to take out our stitch marker, and now we are going to do the very same thing that we did previously at the peak of our row. So we work 2 single crochets into that very same chain 1 space, and then chain 1, work 2 single crochets once again. So I'll still get my stitch marker and put it into the chain 1 space so that it is easier for me to know that this is where I need to work this once again when I get on the next row. Okay, and here I am. Now what I am going to do for the next stitches is I am going to work 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going down. Okay, so just work one single crochet into every back loop of every stitch all the way going down until you have 3 stitches left to end the row. Okay, so I'm going to let you work your single crochets going down, and I'm going to meet you once you have 3 stitches to end the row, and that's where I'll tell you what to do next. And yes, I am here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to work 2 single crochets together into the last 2 back loops, into the 2 stitches, the last 2 stitches, the back loops of the last 2 stitches. So literally I am leaving 1 stitch unworked. Okay, now for my next row I am going to chain 1 and turn my work, and I'll skip the very first stitch and get into the back loop of the next 2 stitches, and there I will work 2 single crochets together. You see how it looks like so far? Okay. So I'll get my stitch marker and mark my very first stitch so it is easy for me to know where it is. Okay, now here nothing is going to change. We are going to work 1 single crochet into every back loop of every stitch all the way going up until I get to the chain 1 space that is at the peak of my row. All right, so I'm going to let you work your single crochets all the way going up, just like we have been doing. Nothing is going to change, all the way going up until you get to the chain 1 space. This girl just can't let me work, okay? But don't mind her. She's not appearing anywhere in the video. I'm just going to keep on track. She's not going to distract me that much. So once you're all the way up at the chain 1 space, what you will do is you will take out your stitch marker, and into the chain 1 space we are going to do exactly what we did for the previous row. Into the chain 1 space we shall work 2 single crochets, and then chain 1, work 2 single crochets once again into the very same chain 1 space or stitch. Okay, so basically the making the leaf is not any different. It is just you trying to keep up with the rib stitch and just knowing where to carve, and knowing where to make the decreases. Surprisingly, the curve is more like where we have the curve is actually where the stalk is going to be, or like the bottom of the leaf is going to be. And where we are making those decreases and leaving 1 stitch unworked is actually the top of the leaf. Okay, so once we have finished working our peak, we are going to just keep working 1 single crochet into every back loop of every stitch all the way going down until we have 3 stitches left to end the row. Even there we're just going to do exactly the same thing that we have been doing. We shall work 2 single crochets together into the last 2 stitches, into the back loop of the last 2 stitches, leaving 1 stitch unworked. Okay, so this is what we do, and this is exactly what we keep repeating and repeating and repeating. I do not want the sleeve to be so wide. I personally worked a total of 6 rows before I started working on the sides of the leaf, more like to create my stalk or bottom. So I'm going to let you guys, once you have finished this row, you're just going to keep doing exactly what we have been doing, what I have showed you, for the next 3 rows or so, or even 7 or 8. Just know that the more you go round and round and round and round and round and round, the wider your leaf is going to be. The more rows, the wider the leaf is going to be. But more so, the length of the leaf is determined by the number of foundation chains that you get to work when you're starting your leaf. Okay, so this is it. This is how it looks like. Just go around for 3 more rows to make it a total of 6 rows. I guess there will be 6 rows. Oh yeah, just go around for those, and then I'm going to get back and show you how to work on the stalk. So this is how my work looks like after working my desired number of rows. Okay, so what happens now, I'm going to be working on the sides of each of the row, from bottom to peak, from bottom to peak, from peak to bottom, in that way. So I'll be working at least to more like have my leaf have a base. But if you're not looking for a leaf with a base, more so if you're looking for just a leaf to do a plique, this is okay, this can do. But for the design for which I'm going to use these leaves for, I need it to have a base. So this is what I'll do. I'll chain 1, turn my work, and I will skip the very first stitch and work 2 single crochets into the back loops of the next 2 stitches. And once I have that, I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch until I get to the chain 1 space. I'm sorry about that. So the difference here is going to be right here. We are no longer going to go all the way around for the row, or all the way up the peak and down for the row. Instead, we are going to work all the way until the peak, and then from the peak all the way back to the bottom of the row. Okay, so I'll just work my single crochets until I get to that chain 1 space. So basically I'm also working a single crochet into the chain 1 space right there. So I'll just work a single crochet right there, and yes, this is the end of this row. So I'm going to now chain 1 and work going back down. So now I'll chain 1, and I'm not going to be working the decrease that I work on the other side. Instead, here I'll just skip the very first stitch and work one single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and I'll continue working 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going down until I have 3 stitches left to end my row. Okay, so the decrease that I keep working at the bottom, or it should be the top of the leaf. Okay, so the decrease that I keep working, my voice is getting husky, but let's just roll with this. The decrease that I keep working at the top of the leaf should remain worked. You should keep working it, that's what I mean. So once you get there, you'll work 2 single crochets into the last 2 stitches and leave 1 stitch unworked. And when you're to work the next row, this is the last row that I have to work on the side of the leaf. So I'll chain 1, turn my work, skip the very first stitch and work 2 single crochets into the back loop of the next 2 stitches. So in that way I have that decrease, and then I'll keep working 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going up, until I get to the top of my row right there, and there I will cut my yarn. So where we are having the decreases is actually the top of the leaf, and where we are not having decreases is the bottom, and that's where our stalk is going to be. So you can see it's already forming. I need to do the very same thing on this other side, the opposite side of the leaf as well, okay? Because I just need my leaf to have a base, okay? I just really don't know what's happening to my voice right now. It's getting husky, and I'm going to keep clearing my voice throughout. But anyway, we are about to get done with this one. Now, what happens is you're going to cut your yarn on the other side and now get into the last stitch of the top of your leaf on the opposite side, and there you'll pull through your yarn just like I did and work a chain, then skip the very first stitch, work 2 single crochets together into the next 2 stitches. Okay, and then keep working 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going up until the chain 1 space. I don't know if you realize that I'm working on the opposite side of my leaf right now, but that's why I am, because I just didn't show you guys how I cut my yarn and everything. I am sorry. But yes, just keep working your single crochets until the chain 1 space, just like I have done. And this is how it should look like. All right, now here we shall chain 1 and turn our work. I'll skip the very first stitch and get into the next stitch, work a single crochet into the back loop of that stitch, and then continue working 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going down until I have 3 stitches left to end my row. Okay, so basically what we did on the other side of the leaf is exactly what we carry on to the side of the leaf. Nothing changes. We just need to have uniform edges or uniform sides of the leaf. All right, and now once you go all the way down and you have 3 stitches left to end your row, what you will do is you'll work 2 single crochets together into the next 2 stitches. In that way you leave 1 stitch unworked. And now chain 1, turn your work, skip the very first stitch, work 2 single crochets together into the next 2 stitches, and then continue with 1 single crochet into the back loop of every stitch all the way going up until you get to the top of your row. So now you are going to see that my leaf has a base, and I'm going to just be working a few single crochets at the edge of my base. Okay, see how it looks like? It got wider and it got a base right there. So I'm going to be working along that edge. I'm going to get the yarn end of my previous rows and lay it over the edge. Then I will work 1 single crochet into every single crochet post. Okay, so that means I'll have 3 single crochets, then 1 single crochet into the chain 1 space, and then 3 single crochets into the 3 single crochet posts on the other side as well. So basically in total I have 7 single crochets along this edge. Then I'll chain 1, turn my work. Once again I will work 7 single crochets into the next 7 stitches, and there I feel I am confident that my leaf is fully done, fully worked, very fine and ready to be used for the design that I want to use it for. And this is the very same knowledge you can carry on when you're making any other leaves, even if you're not working leaves that are for the purpose I am working this for. So if you're working smaller leaves, you may need to just work like 10 foundation chains or even 5 foundation chains. That's if you want very, very small leaves. Okay, so this is it. We are done with this leaf. I want to thank you so much for watching. Let me see you all in the next tutorial, which will be for that foliage top, and the written pattern for it will be on my Etsy and coffee shop. Thank you so much. Bye.